Hey Giselle, Dusty here from Toyota of Gladstone, and I am sitting in a Grand Highlander and wanted to kind of go over, basically do a virtual delivery for you. So first of all, we're going to start right here since this is what we're looking at. This directional pad is for moving through all of the different menu options that are up here in the dash. So if I click on the over arrows, you'll see that it's responding. Up and down goes through the different sections of each menu. So you go through all the different menus left and right, and then up and down to get to the different sections. Tons of settings and stuff in there that you can customize what information is being provided to you right there. So as you can see on this particular one, it says, oh, hold the OK to reset. So this is the OK button it's talking about. And then if you're ever deep into one of these menus and you get stuck, this little button right here is the return button, so you can push that and it'll back you out of the things that you are, the menu that you're in. Next, you got the phone button. That one will answer your phone calls when they're coming in, right there on the steering wheel. You will get an answer option up here on the screen and on your phone as well, but this is the safe way, so that way you're not getting in trouble for messing with your phone. This is for adjusting the volume. So if you're on a phone call, it adjusts the volume of that call, and if you're just listening to music, it changes the volume for that. This is the voice command button. Now this has a couple different functions. When you push that button real quickly, that will prompt the car to listen to you, and you can instruct the car to give you, to do things for you. You would say, Toyota, do this or that. Let's see, it just heard me say it. If you push the button, that will turn that on as well. But if you say, hey Toyota, it hears you and it listens for what the instructions you're trying to provide. If you are connected with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto,
I didn't understand. Please try again using a louder speaking volume.
if you are connected to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, if you long hold this button, then it'll bring up the appropriate voice commands for that system, so Siri or Google, so whichever one you're looking at. Moving over here, we've got this is the button that activates your smart or your adaptive cruise control system. So once that's turned on, then you're going to go and find the speed that you want, and I believe it's this button to set it. And once you're at the speed you want, you'll hit that to set it, and then you can bump it up and down a mile per hour. Now this is adaptive cruise control, so when you go up here, there's this camera behind the mirror up here, and that will detect the vehicle in front of you and slow you down to match their speed. And then as they speed up or move out of the way, they will it'll bring you back up to whatever your cruise control setting is at. This mode button shifts between the different types of cruise control, because you can switch it to a traditional cruise control where it's just going to hold the speed regardless of how close you get to the car in front of you. That is until the vehicle detects a collision and decides to apply the brakes, of course. But this button right here, this one is for turning on and off the lane detection system. So you do have lane assist in this as well. So if this vehicle starts to drift to the left or the right, and again, as long as this camera can see the lines on the road, then it will adjust your steering very subtly. And then if you get too far out of the lane, it'll beep at you to let you know. That button right there will adjust the following distance for the adaptive cruise control. So there's a long, a medium, and a short distance. And I personally find the medium one to be the right spot, kind of the Goldilocks zone. The close is not closer than I have followed people on the freeway, but it's a little close for me when my foot's not on the throttle. So it's a little uncomfortable for me, but you know, test them all out and find out which one's the best for you. This mode button is going to switch between your audio sources, so AM, FM, Sirius radio, Bluetooth, if you have some auxiliary plugged in, something like that, all those different things right there on that mode button. And then next to that, these double arrows, this is going to switch you, when you're on the radio, it'll actually switch you from one station to the next within your presets. And you could have an AM preset and then an FM preset and a Sirius radio, and it'll just switch between those three. And if those are the only three you got, it'll just cycle through those three. You can have quite a few in there. I'm not sure what the limit is, but you can have a lot of stations preset, and it'll just cycle through those different stations there. If you're listening to Pandora or some other streaming music and you can skip or go back, that's what that will do there in that situation. Moving over here, we've got the heated seat button on here all the way on the left, top left. 3 different settings, a high, medium, and low. This is a rolly button for adjusting your temperature control. So if it's hot or cold, that's how you're going to change all those types of things. That's the button to turn that system on, the one that says off. And if you next to it is for your front window for turning on the defrost. Down below, we got this one that kind of looks like windshield again. This one is for turning on. There's a heating element that's right underneath where the windshield wipers are resting. So if those are stuck to the glass because they had freezing temperatures, you can press that button and it'll melt the ice right there. That way your windshield wipers can wipe. Next to that, again, some more of the same type of thing. This is for turning on the heated mirrors and the rear window as well, for the heating element on the rear window. So both of those functions are controlled in that one button. Basic controls for environmental stuff right there. So you can adjust how much fan is blowing there, you can adjust where the fan is blowing there, and you can adjust the temperature in the back actually using this one if you turn on the air in the back by doing that. These next two right here, you can see that this one has a green light on it. That one actually will direct air to the seats that are occupied only. So if there's nobody sitting in the back and somebody left the air on in the back, it detects that there's no pressure, the pressure sensor in the seat's not detecting any butt, then it will not send any air back there and be a little bit more conservative on energy. And then that one below, I'm sure you've seen that before, that's just the recirculate button for the air conditioning and heating. And then this is the passenger side control for adjusting their temperature, so they have some control over it too. So you do have 3 temperature zones in here, so the driver, the passenger, and the rear. And then the last thing over here is the heated seat button for the passenger. Coming down here, we've got some new stuff as well. So I get a lot of questions on what is this little M minus D, but really what it is, if you put this all the way into the D, that's D for drive, you can actually bump this handle over towards your leg to get it into this mode here. And this is basically, it allows you to change, like, control what gear the car is in. So you might use that if you wanted to kind of play around and have a little fun and downshift and hit the gas and have a little bit more, responsiveness out of the throttle. Also, it would work to, if you wanted to downshift because you're going down a hill or something like that. That's really a primary function of that. So that's what that does for you. Next, we have the parking brake button. That works just as if it was a lever. Like, I'm sure you've been in a car before that has a parking brake lever. Oh my gosh. You pull that up to engage the parking brake, you push it down to disengage the parking brake. However, with the Toyota, it is automatic, so you can just forget about that button. If you put it into park, then it automatically engages the parking brake. If you put it into drive reverse, it automatically disengages the parking brake. So next to that is a button that's associated with the brake as well. This is the hold feature. So if you turn that system on, what it'll do is when you come to a complete stop, it'll keep the brakes applied even if your foot comes all the way off the brake pedal. Now, when that would be useful is if you were like in stop and go traffic. That way you don't shift back and forth between park and drive all the time. Or if you're in a long line for Starbucks or fast food, you don't have to worry about shifting back and forth. You don't have to worry about accidentally rolling forward into the car in front of you. You can just push that on, turn that system on, and it'll hold the brakes until and then when it releases the brakes when your foot touches the gas. Again, that helps prevent, little bumps in parking lots and whatnot. It's a little bit weird to have that on all the time. When you lift your foot off of the brake, you kind of expect to roll forward. So if you're sitting at a light and you're not rolling forward, it's a little bit like unnatural feeling. So It's nice that it's a button. You can turn it on and off when you need it. Down here, speaking of another thing that you can turn it on and off when you need, this is for the idle stop and go. Basically what it does is when the car comes to a complete stop, it will shut down part of the engine. Now it doesn't do it initially when you start your drive, but after the engine's all warmed up and everything is going and there's a good charge on the 12-volt battery, it'll start doing that. And that will stop the engine when you come to a complete stop, trying to just conserve gas. And then the way that it works is when your foot starts to release the brake, it detects that and it'll fire that engine back up, so that way by the time your foot is over to the gas pedal, everything's ready to go. Now if you're trying to beat a light, it's probably going to cause a problem for you, but if you drive like most people do and should probably, it's not going to be a problem. However, you can turn that off because it does bother some people, so they like to be able to turn that off. You do have to turn it off every time you turn on the car because it automatically defaults to on. Next to that is the traction control button, so please don't accidentally turn this off while you're driving. What traction control does is it automatically moves power away from a wheel that's slipping to the other wheels that are gripping. So if you turn that system off, it will be easier to lose control of the vehicle if the tires start to slide. So the only good reason I've ever heard is if you are already stuck, sometimes doing that will help you to get unstuck, but I promise you, if you push that button, if you're gonna go spin donuts in a parking lot, hit that button. But other than that, not a lot of function for that for you. We got a lot of stuff right here. So this is all about the way the vehicle is going to behave. So the Eco, the Sport, and the Normal button, what those do is, well, in Sport mode, if you hit that, your dash up here will turn kind of red, and to let you know that you're in Sport mode. And it will adjust the timing on the transmission, makes the steering tighter, makes the throttle more responsive, all these little adjustments to the car to make it behave a little bit more sporty. Now, it's not going to turn it into a Porsche or anything, but it definitely is noticeable. You don't have to be a motorhead to notice the difference. Next to that is the Eco mode. That kind of goes in the opposite direction. It will cut how much power it lets the air conditioning and the heating draw. It'll make the throttle, so if you slam the gas pedal, you only get 90% out of the throttle. So little adjustments like that, trying to make the car behave a little bit more economical. Kind of like your road trip button in my mind. That's when I would hit that, is when I'm going to go on a road trip and I want to put as little fuel into the tank as possible. Down here, these two buttons are different. These ones are for your all-wheel drive system. So you can select the different driving situation that you're in, hit one of those, and it'll change the settings so that the traction control, the automatic braking system, all these different things are going to function slightly differently, and you can kind of tune it to the condition that you are driving on. It's kind of like a four-wheel drive button, but this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, and four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive are not exactly the same thing. But it's sort of akin to putting it into four-wheel drive for these more off-roady situations. Just changes those settings so that the vehicle can be prepared to react a little bit better under these types of circumstances, and more appropriately too. So next, I'm sure you've discovered this. You have your cubby here in the thing. Closes up nice and tight. Coming down here, this button on the left with the A, that one is for the automatic brights. So when you turn your bright lights on, and if you have that turned on, there'll be a light on it that shows that it's on. When this camera, again, this camera does a lot of work for us. This camera that's up here, when it detects the headlights of another vehicle coming at you or the taillights of a vehicle that you're approaching, it will automatically dim your brights so that way you're not blinding other drivers. So I call it the don't be a jerk button. Definitely saves you from that situation where you pass somebody and then you realize that you'd had your brights on the whole time. I've been in that situation myself. Next we have, this one's pretty self-explanatory, opens that back hatch for you. You can use it to open or close it. That way you can just hop in the car and go. The audio button, that is for changing the odometer readout, so you can change it from trip A, trip B. It'll actually tell you how far till your next maintenance or whatever the current reading on the actual odometer is. And then next to that is a button for adjusting the brightness of these dash features up here. That way you're, when it gets dark or something, you can turn those down and they're not quite as blinding for you. Right here we have the lever for the headlights. So if you turn this into the auto position, you can pretty much forget about it. It'll automatically turn the headlights on when it starts to get dark. It'll leave your driving lights on most of the time. This is for just driving lights. This is for headlights and driving lights. And then this whole lever flicks forward for brights, and then this whole lever goes up and down for blinker. I know that's super basic, but sometimes it's different from people from different brands do it a little differently sometimes. So over here, this is for everything in windshield wipers. So the whole lever goes up and down for the front windshield wipers. The end of this rolls for the rear windshield wipers. And then you do have this control for how frequent, when you have it on the intermittent setting, how frequently that intermittent will adjust. Now this is an XLE Highlander in a platinum, maybe even a limited. There is an auto feature that you can do where it's going to turn on the windshield wipers when it starts to detect moisture. So this one is just an XLE, so you have to turn that on yourself. I didn't talk about down here at all. This is the start button, obviously. This is the a charging port, a USB-C charging port. And this is another USB-C port, but this one is different. This is the one. Now this vehicle is equipped with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but if for some reason that's not working, or you'd have a phone that's old and it doesn't have wireless capabilities, or I don't know, I can't think of a real good explanation, but you do have an option to manually plug in. This is the one that you're going to plug in to enable those systems if it's not working wirelessly for you. Another USB port all the way over there for the passenger, next to this little shelf where their phone or pens or pencils could go. We do have cup holders right here. So you got this nice big container, and then you got these two smaller ones. Let's see what else. I'm gonna hop out. Seat controls right here. This whole lever will move forward and move back to move the seat forward and back. If you pull up on just the front, it'll raise the top part of the seat, or the front part of the seat. If you pull up on the back, that'll raise up the whole seat. So you do have a lot of functionality here. A lot of times I just push the whole thing down to raise and lower the whole seat. This is for the tilt of the back, so that's pretty self-explanatory. And then this one is for lumbar support. Coming around to the back here, you do have that button on the dash that we talked about to open this back hatch. There's a button on the key fob that'll open this back hatch. There's a button right here underneath the G that you can push, and that'll open the back hatch. And then to close it, all those same things, button on the key fob, button on the dash. Instead of the button on the back of the exterior of the car, you have a button right here, two different buttons. So the one on the left, that will just close the hatch. The one on the right would close and lock the doors. So if all the rest of the doors are closed and you hit that and you got the key in your pocket, it will close this back hatch and lock the doors as you're walking in to go to the grocery store, or head to the beach, or do whatever it is you're going to do. And one last function here is if you pull on this handle, the car will detect what you're doing, and it'll automatically close the hatch the rest of the way. Well, this is Dusty here at Toyota of Gladstone. Again, this was a walk around on a XLE Grand Highlander. If you have any questions, give me a call. My cell phone number is 843-693-5644. Thank you very much, and have a great day.